War. War never changes.
What is going on, ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls, to War Never Changes, episode number 15. We're going to entitle this, Let's Travel South to North. Who is us? Over here is the co-host with the most, Phil Crackshot McCracken. How you doing today, Phil?
I'm doing great. I thought we were going to introduce ourselves as, brought to you by North to South Productions in association with Eat My Ass Entertainment.
You know, you did say that in the text, and I just was so focused on north to south or south to north rather. See, that's why I screwed it up. That's why.
Give me the old
Um,
South and North.
I am Jim, but as you know on this show, Phil always gets introduced first because he's the man. Look at that, large and in charge, rocking a beautiful sort of perm today. Nice, beautiful beard, the best of the best shirt. Is that Disney?
Yeah, the best of the rest. It's all like the secondary characters.
Oh, I thought it said the best of the best. I was like, okay. See, I'm so out of it. I'm rocking some gears, by the way. A little bit of the Crimson Omen. So we got a lot to talk about today. And before I get started, I want to point out that we do have a slightly different format this week in terms of the layout. Yes, I've changed some things. People said the borders that rotated around, which I spent about 7 hours on, were too annoying, so I've taken them out. I hate it. No, I'm just kidding. It's nice.
Who said that?
We get comments, bro. We get comments all the time, dude. We're easily. I think our last video was like 40 something views. So people are very opinionated. So I said, okay, I'm gonna get rid of them. I made the red match, the really cool red on our logo. I put a nice black border around it so our image pops. It's a little bit bigger. And I also have some really cool YouTube stuff that we're gonna try out later. May or may not work. There's no double audio. Phil looks good. I look good. We are ready. So, little housekeeping out of the way. I wanted to start this week with something that is near and dear to my heart, PlayStation 5.
Doesn't even
but,
have one yet. Near and dear to my heart.
but, but really, the question I have for you, and you're a little smarter in this than I. I know you're quite the businessman. Do you think that third-party console exclusives are bad for the industry?
No.
I don't either, but I think you and I are probably the only two people in the world that feel this way right now. So
Yeah.
just to set it up, and then let you go off on your rant. This really was triggered by Spider-Man, which is announced as a downloadable character for Marvel's Avengers only on the PlayStation 5 or 4, I guess, 4 and 5. With a 30-day exclusive, the outfits, emotes, costumes, gold coins, all the new stuff is all coming to Marvel, and everybody's losing their mind. And I want to hear what you got to say. So go ahead, sir. Take it away.
You know what? This this is not a detriment to the industry. This is a credit to the folks over at PlayStation. They're negotiating hard for the people that are loyal to their console. They're negotiating hard to bring content and to make the user experience for their console better, and that is their job. And they're doing their job well, better than the folks over at Xbox. And if we harken back to the days of Soul Calibur 2, I don't remember anyone crying because, oh, Link's only available on the GameCube. Like, shut up. Go away. Get over yourself. Oh, it's Xbox. Like, no one's going to buy an Xbox anyway, so it doesn't matter.
Oh my God,
It doesn't
savage
matter. Just,
outtakes from
you know what?
Phil.
If
Yes.
you want to complain, support Xbox more so that Xbox has enough money to pay competent senior leadership, buyers, and negotiators so that they can bring you the same content that other people are getting. Life's not fair. Shut up.
Damn. I didn't think you were going to take that. I knew you were going to be a little aggressive. That was definitely Warzone Phil McCracken. That was like full auto, 50 cal. I'll tell you what, it's funny because we seem to, at least I seem to see this because I read a lot of gaming news. That's really all I read. People really do like to cherry pick their points. Years ago, if you recall, Call of Duty was an Xbox, not an exclusive, but it was always debuted on the Xbox stage. A lot of the new maps, a lot of the new content was Xbox timed exclusives. When they made the jump to Sony, a lot of people didn't seem to mind, although they did add a Spec Ops mode, which is only available right now, 1 year exclusive, 1 year in PlayStation Land. Destiny 2 the original Destiny did something very similar where a lot of stuff was exclusive to the PlayStation version, but that was funded by Sony. So that made a little more sense. I don't know if Destiny wouldn't have happened without Sony's money. Clearly, Marvel's Avengers is going to be successful and they have enough capital. Square Enix is a very, very established company. So they don't need Sony's money to make Spider-Man. But it is interesting to see as time goes on, it's what people like to pick on. And I don't know if it's console wars or what, but this is a really hot topic.
The production of video games and the content contained therein, it is about who has money and who has the rights to develop or whatever, but it's also predicated on relationships. And if a certain studio has a better working relationship with a certain hardware manufacturer, or a certain hardware manufacturer is willing to offer up more sponsorship dollars or pay a fee for the content that studio has the rights to license out and make a game for, then that's what they're going to do. And that's just the reality of life. We are adults. I know that video games are aimed at the young and the young at heart, but we are adults. And the majority of the gaming community is people who are probably from the age of 17 to 29. And I think that we just need to be reasonable, understand that this is just a standard business transaction. And you said there's a 30-day timer on it?
On the outfits, the emotes, some of the takedowns, yes. On Spider-Man, no. As far as I can tell, Spider-Man will only be on PlayStation for the length of this game. I don't think you'll ever get Spider-Man on Xbox. If
you want to play as Spider-Man, you have the information in advance. This is not something they're springing on you after the game has come out.
That's true.
You have this knowledge now to make this decision before the consoles even come out. If you're going to make your console purchase decision based on this, then you're going to have to go PS5. If it doesn't matter enough for you to base your console decision purchase off of it, then it's obviously not that big of a deal and you should shut up and act like an adult.
Do you think that Spider-Man would have ever come? Do you think there was like a bidding war where they called up? They're like, okay, I got Sony on one phone and Microsoft on the other, and they're like, all right, opening bid for Spider-Man, $1. I know Spider-Man's tied with Sony, the movie rights, but pretend it isn't. Do you think that PlayStation aggressively sought out this and said, hey, we want something exclusive for us, or do you think it was a bidding war that Microsoft lost?
I would say it was likely a bidding war, because look at the controversy with the actual Spider-Man movies between Bob Iger from Disney and whoever the head of Sony Film Productions or Sony Film or whoever made that decision on behalf of Sony. It was a big to-do. There was a lot at stake for the rights to him staying within the Marvel comic universe and all that other stuff. And, there's theme park rights that involve him, like Disneyland. To get off on a tangent here, Disneyland is going to be able to have the Marvel Universe portion of their park themed with him in attendance. They're building the most advanced I don't want to call it a robot. It's the most advanced. We'll call it a robot. It's the most advanced robot basically in the world right now. They have some MIT people working on it, and he's going to swing and do jumps between buildings. This Spider-Man, and
wow. You're talking about like animatronics or something, like that Avatar ride where the guy like waves to you at the end of the boat ride. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, but he moves and he runs and he jumps and he tumbles through the air. So he's gonna move between the tops of buildings in the air, and it's gonna be a random occurrence. It's gonna scan the infrared in your magic band. It's gonna be triggered randomly by a magic band. You're gonna hear footsteps from hidden speakers, and then you're gonna hear him say something, and then you look up and you'll see Spider-Man jump between the buildings. Damn. That's what they're doing in Disneyland right now. They can't do that in Florida because of the line of delineation, which is the Mississippi River. So the only park east of the Mississippi River that can feature Spider-Man is Universal Orlando, even though Disney owns the rights to Spider-Man. So he's a hotly contested piece of IP.
He definitely is. Maybe that's what's triggered this. Maybe I'm just looking at it purely from a video game perspective, but clearly, I think of like It's a Small World where like the little people are like this and it's very basic. But you're talking about running and jumping and all this crazy stuff. Maybe there's more to it than that. I wonder if it wasn't Spider-Man, if people would still be complaining. Like if it was Hawkeye or I don't know, Scarlet, Black Scar, whatever, Scarlet Witch, or any of the other lesser, like lower tier guys, maybe people wouldn't have cared as much. Or maybe it's just people want to fight so bad about these console wars right now that any little thing is going to come off as like, oh, I can't believe Sony is anti-consumer because they're spending money on Spider-Man. Those jerks.
I think that the world at large has a serious entitlement issue this generation. I think that our generation had a little bit of a problem with it, and we really passed that on to the next generation because, the people that, the old saying goes, everyone that came before me is a legend and everyone that comes after me is a punk. And I don't want to prescribe to that very stupid worldview, but I really feel like this generation has a serious entitlement issue, and I think that they would bitch no matter what, but no one would complain about a console exclusive Hawkeye, and it wouldn't have existed because no one at Sony would have been stupid enough to pay good money to be like, oh, only we can have the Hawkeye.
The Hawkeye. Does that make me a legend since I'm older than you?
No, because we're basically from the same generation.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. You said older and you was like a legend, so I was like, yeah, okay.
No.
The Viper Magic.
No, not with that haircut.
Hey, you know what? This is a beautiful head of hair. This is a beautiful beard. Every week, that's how you can tell. Like, if you just, like, what episode are we on? Just measure my beard. That's what you got to know. For a while there, you were looking scruffy. Then you got, I changed over our source. You got really nice clarity image now. You got a snazzy haircut. Now it's starting to grow out again. For me, I'm just letting it ride, baby. That's it. Yeah, I guess what I'll say in closing on that is I don't look at it so much as a negative on what Sony is doing. I look at it honestly as Microsoft not being as aggressive. And something you brought up, which is as good as any place to talk about, is kind of like what is going on over at Microsoft. And I know we've touched on this a lot on this show. In particular, like, could we pinpoint a certain moment in time when it's like, ooh, was it Don Matrick that absolutely sealed the fate of Xbox for all time? Was it the Kinect? Was it a game? What was it? And this just seems to be another item in a long list of items where, we're seeing problems over there with Xbox not seeking these things out.
Yeah. I guess, you and I were talking about what do we want to talk about, and this is something that I brought up, and I don't want to be mad. And I don't want to be judgmental or a dick like I usually am because
what?
I'm really sad about this because
you do look sad. I feel bad now.
My question is what happened to my gaming company? What happened to Microsoft and what happened to Xbox?
Yeah.
Some of the points I mentioned to you before we started recording is if you think back to the Xbox 360, that console had a lot of flaws. Chief among them was the Red Ring of Death. And still, people flock to it for years and years and years. They just go out and replace it. In fact,
I bought 3 of them.
GameStop started just carrying consoles with no wires or anything, just a box with a console with no hard drive in it, because they were so popular despite the Red Ring of Death. And you can just go get a shell and plug all your crap back into it.
Absolutely.
And if you think about the quality of the games that they had, let's think about Halo 3 rounding out one of the most phenomenal franchises of all time for that generation, and then continuing with Halo Reach, which I know was met with kind of mixed reviews from purists or whatever, but it was a fun game that I enjoyed, and I liked Halo so much. Even though I had a still functioning Xbox 360 Elite, I went and I bought the Halo Reach Edition Xbox 360. That's how much I loved it. And
yeah,
I don't know what happened because after that, I kind of put the game down. I remember I have Halo 4 for Xbox 360 sitting over there, but I can't even remember if I finished it. And then I never touched Halo again. And I'm playing back through the games, and I like I'll like every once in a while I'll mention, hey, I remember this scene, but for the most part, you're having to explain to me like I'm 5 for most of the games, and I feel like that's a statement because we've had one whole Halo game in an entire generation, and it took so long that I didn't even bother to pick it up. So,
Yeah, if you look at the Xbox One development cycle of games that came out, um, it's very odd depending on what point in time you look at it. You know, when the original Xbox One came out, everybody really hated it. They hated the whole idea of always being connected online. They hated the Connect TV stuff. They hated that. Then you get these snapshots of like really something awesome happened. Like when the Xbox One S came out, everybody lost their mind. Oh my God, it's a true 4K console. It's sleek looking, it's pretty, it's quiet. The Elite controller came out, everybody lost their mind. So there's moments where you can cherry pick things and say, that was cool, that was cool, that was cool. But yeah, I don't think a lot of people are going to fondly look back at this last 7 or 8 years of this console and say, that was a good time. I don't think people are going to do that.
I'm not even mad at Xbox One. I'm mad about Xbox Series X because in this it's driven by games. Look at the quality of and that's something that I was starting to touch on. Look at the quality of the exclusives for the life cycle of the Xbox 360. Wow, I'm getting very angry.
Get angry.
You had Halo. You had games like Fable. You had Gears of War, which evolved into the #1 first-person shooter on the planet Earth. You had games like, you had games that weren't necessarily an exclusive, like Call of Duty Modern Warfare. That reset, I feel like that reset the whole game for FPSs. And then you had...
Are you talking about Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare?
Yeah, Modern Warfare.
Yeah.
Modern Warfare 2.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know.
Other Xbox games that I think, or the one that sticks out to me that I really like, obviously Forza, but I really like Project Gotham Racing. And that one, I bought that game before the console came out. I own Project Gotham Racing 3. I had it. I was sitting at Rachel's house, and we opened it, and we were looking at the game, and the console didn't launch for like 2 days later, and we just kept staring at the case like, this is going to be a good game. And it was. I loved it. I played the hell out of some Project Gotham Racing 3.
Yeah.
Good times.
And I don't have any moments like that with the Xbox One that don't involve you. And you only came into my life less than a year ago. Yeah. It's just like, I thought I was going to have that moment when the Pip-Boy edition Fallout 4 came out. And I went and got it, and I was so excited. And I got home, and the fucking Pip-Boy didn't fit on my big, stupid lumberjack arm. And then the game was boring. Like, I had to see... Like, I bought the collector edition. I've got the season pass, and, like, Nuka World is fun. But I don't feel like I felt when I put, New Vegas in or Fallout 3. I don't feel like that.
That's not an Xbox problem. I mean, that's not Microsoft's
Yes, it is, because I'm an Xbox gamer.
Oh, okay. So they just get the shrapnel. So Bethesda release shitty games, and Microsoft has to take one for the team. It's not fair.
Sure, it's fair. Fair is respective to your point of view. Okay, what I think is fair and what you think is fair in a given situation could be totally different. And guess what? In this situation, it's fair to me because Xbox should have done something, don't know what, to make it better. I feel like there haven't been a whole lot of exciting games either. It's on the first party side for this console. And I don't know, I'm getting off on I didn't want to get off on a tangent.
No, I want you to.
I wanted to make a genuine appeal. I want to know what happened because I've always been an Xbox guy, and this generation I'm not gonna be, and it's sad, and I feel like a traitor. I feel like a dirty traitor.
I guess maybe because we've talked about this before, because we both own all the consoles. Definitely for me as a PC guy, I don't really have I definitely swing more towards PlayStation. Let's not even pretend I don't. But I find fun things in everything. I mean, behind me on the wall is Sea of Thieves, which is an Xbox exclusive that I love. But I don't see it as an Xbox game. It's a computer game because that's what I play it on. So maybe for me, the console wars, I don't feel like betrayed by one or the other. I just look at what Sony's doing and I laugh because I'm like, that's my guy. I want it just like my sports team. I want the Bears to win. They never are. I want the Chicago Bears to win. So when they do good, I'm like, yes, and I'm very, very vocal about it. But if they're making good decisions, I'm not talking about the Bears anymore because that would be a whole different show. But if PlayStation's making good decisions and they're actively pursuing exclusive deals and getting really cool third party exclusives and making great games, yeah, I'm going to be excited because I'm one of the guys. Like you're basically saying you are the chosen fan. Don't worry about those other guys. Look what we're doing. And I don't necessarily see the Xbox side, my friends on the Xbox side, reciprocating that back. It's usually just cherry pick things that Sony does bad rather than say, hey, I'm really excited about blank because there's not a lot to be excited about. And it really does suck. I can see their frustration.
I think that this will be the last console that Microsoft makes, unless they blow the doors off sales and they beat everyone's expectations. I think that this console, in function and form, is just a way to get people more into PC gaming and for them to consolidate their efforts and focus their efforts on PC. And you know what? And they've got this Play Anywhere platform thing going where you can play on your phone. They make these adapters to stick your phone right to your Xbox controller, take your game anywhere kind of stuff. And they're really moving towards cloud-based gaming. And I think that they're trying, this console, it's a computer tower. It's just a small computer tower. That's all it is. It's an affordable entry-level gaming computer. That's all it is.
Pretty much.
That's all it is. It's going to have a web browser. It's going to do everything a computer would do and play games really well.
I kind of had thought that was Microsoft's plan all along, especially recently with this Play Anywhere initiative, to basically do exactly what you said and to say, you know what, this is kind of going to be our last console. We're transitioning away from the console space. I've seen a lot of articles like Microsoft didn't lose the war; they reinvented the war. They're fighting on a different front, and I'm like, well, okay, I don't know. I mean, we've talked a little bit about that before, but yeah, I'd really like to see them just wow me, and I keep waiting. And it's like, more news is coming out. It's not even from Sony's camp now. It's third-party games that are like, hey, guess what we're doing? And it's like, man, like just like you said at the beginning, you have a choice. If you don't like what they're doing, support the winning team. And I think a lot of people are going to come to terms with that. I think people like you who are very, very loyal to Xbox are kind of having this struggle of like, well, I really am loyal to Xbox, but man, it's really hard to turn my back on Sony because these guys are just killing it at every front.
I sit here and I say all this, but you and I both know that I'm going to buy the Series X, but I'm not excited about it. And it's kind of bittersweet because I have this feeling in my heart like this is going to be the last Xbox console I ever buy. And Sony's going to have to take console gaming and continue to do good things with it, and they do beautiful things with it. And thank God that I have no hate. And it's not like a fuck PlayStation. I have both. I just buy most of my games on Xbox, and I'm more of an Xbox gamer, but I love PlayStation, and I have a lot of fond memories with PlayStation and the iterations throughout the year, PS2, PS Vita, PSP, all that stuff that I had. And they do really well because they're they have a competitor. They have a major competitor, and competition keeps things alive. And I don't know who's going to step in and take Xbox's place there. Now Sony's going to be competing against PC gaming. Okay, well, a huge majority of people are going to own PlayStations, and then the same people that had gaming computers plus maybe a couple million more maybe are going to convert, and PC gaming will keep doing its thing. And I don't know. I just don't want Sony to get lazy because then we all lose.
I agree with you 100%. I do not want Sony to get lazy, and that's why I still root for the underdog. We don't even talk about Nintendo, but I still root for the underdog in the sense that like I want them to do well to force creativity. But I'll say that it really is only one game away. I mean, that's the thing. You got to have that hot. You got to have that hot game. Whether it's, I mean, PlayStation's had a ton lately. You know, Ghost is phenomenal. Last of Us, Spider-Man. I'm not talking about Marvel's Spider-Man. I'm talking about Spider-Man like 2 years ago. You know, there are games that do define generations. We just haven't seen one from Xbox in a really long time. So if it is Fable, if it is, I don't know, whatever this new Obsidian project, Avowed, whatever, maybe this is the one where people go, oh my God, like I will, you know, this is the system seller game. It just takes one. They have a lot of studios. So, I mean, mathematically, there's a chance, right? We're like, we got a 1 in 16 chance of getting it right. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, except at the end of the lifespan of the console that's currently out for Sony,
Yeah.
they went ahead and decided to release 2 generation-defining games 2 weeks apart. It's laughable at this point, Jim. It's pathetic.
Well, good.
One Halo game in the entire life cycle of a console across several iterations of it: Xbox, Xbox One S, and Xbox One X.
Well,
That's
to be fair, they did have Halo Wars and the subcontracted Master Chief Collection. I'm just being factual.
You know what I mean.
I know what you mean. So, interestingly enough, with Sony now, jumping off a little bit, Sony has announced that they are not done yet. And they have announced tomorrow a state of play where they have been very vocal. We are not talking about PlayStation 5. We still have PlayStation 4 news. My question to you is, do we need anything else from Sony? Is this like at this point, to me, the lead is so insurmountable. You better just be quiet. Just don't say anything. But it's like, oh, one more thing. So is there anything we need out of this conference? Is it a hot game? Is it what do you think? What are your thoughts?
My thoughts is that in Little League softball or baseball or whatever, when the margin in points becomes greater than 10, they call it
the mercy rule. Yep.
It's a sportsmanship mercy rule, and you know, the gap between Xbox and PlayStation is so wide right now. You know, they had speculated before we saw the Xbox game showcase that there was going to be a mic drop moment, and that mic drop was the carcass of Xbox going back to the PlayStation feature, picking up that mic from their mic drop and just dropping it again for them because Xbox's game showcase sucked.
Man, oh man!
It's like I said, it's depressing me because it's so laughably.
Don't be sad, Phil.
They're so laughably distant.
They are
right now. It's not even funny. I feel like PlayStation is being not. This is the butthurt bitterness of me. PlayStation is not being classy right now with the more PS4 news. They're like, yeah, we're gonna take a shit on their grave just a little bit more. There's a little bit more room on the plot for us to take a shit. Like right over in the left corner, and we're gonna go over there and drop trow and just make the whole thing even. And then we're gonna come back.
Dump.
You know. In 2 more months, we'll come back and we'll smooth it all out and cover it in concrete and fill it back in again.
You know, in their defense, you know, Sony is sold over, I think, 120 million PlayStation 4s, like in houses. And I'm not talking to vendors. I'm talking to people physically in their house own them. Do they use them or not? I don't know. I have a couple that aren't being used. So, I mean, I padded that number a little bit. But the point is, there's a lot of active players in the Sony universe. We know PlayStation 5 is going to have shortages. They've already said as such many times due to COVID and just due to the world economy right now, what's going on with everything around the foreign policy and such. So they still have a big fan base. You know, just because PlayStation 5 comes out doesn't mean PlayStation 4 dies. I mean, to me it does because I'm jumping ship. Like, I mean, that's how I've always been. Day PlayStation 5 comes out, 4 is dead to me. But that's just me. So, I mean, it makes sense that they're posturing, hey, look, we know we're not going to we might not get as many PlayStation 5s in the world as we want to. So we're going to keep beefing up PlayStation 4 because it's still a great console. It's not going anywhere. The question is, why is Microsoft, kind of back to what we talked about before, why is Microsoft, they threw in the towel on this Xbox One a long time ago. And it's just, Game Pass is great for a while. And then it's not. They need that hit. And I think this is another one of those examples where it's like, Microsoft, we want you to rise up to the challenge, and you're not.
Yeah, there's a skit in the Chappelle Show where they're at a mock Kinkos. It's not Kinkos, it's like Scanos or something.
Okay.
And Dave Chappelle's the manager, and he's training a new employee, and Dave Chappelle is telling him to do things that are very rude to the customers, just provide very rude customer service in general. And finally, because it's at the detriment to the customers and it's counterintuitive to anything that the new employee had ever conceived as proper customer service, he finally stops and asks Dave Chappelle, "Why are we treating these people like this?" And speaking from a position of authority and knowing that these people need this service or they're just loyal to this brand for whatever reason, he says, "Fuck them. That's why." And that's what I feel
Jesus.
like Xbox is doing. They're going to
That's
stop
deep.
making Xbox One, and they're going to stop probably making Xbox One games, and they're just going to focus on this smart delivery or whatever. And their strategy is probably like, "Fuck them. That's why." That's what it feels like, at least.
Surprisingly enough, the Xbox One X discontinued. We assumed that we're going to get the Lockhart model, which is the Xbox Series S, for lack of a better word, the weaker of the newer one. But yeah, surprisingly, they killed the X very short amount of time, despite the fact just a couple of years ago they were hyping it up. And it's interesting that they're just kind of quietly pushing that away. And clearly something is coming. We assume that. And there's probably a lot of inventory. It's not like you can't buy an X today, but it's going to be harder here in the next couple of months as these things do finally trickle out, whether it's Black Friday sales or whatever. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I mean, Microsoft has always, it seems like they just kind of gave up about halfway through this generation, and it is not a good foot forward. I mean, I think the Phil Spencer era has gone on long enough that we can't blame it on the old guys anymore. This is solely they're sleeping in the bed they made. No doubt about it at this point. So,
Phil Spencer inherited the Don Matrick nightmare, but
yeah.
and I don't want to crucify the guy because he has done good, but it's not good enough.
I kind of agree.
Not good enough.
I kind of agree. You know, a lot of people really appreciate it, and I did too. He really took the crappy hardware we just talked about with the Xbox 360, and he did deliver. You know, even the one wasn't that great, but you know, the Xbox One S and the X. The X is I've never heard it make a noise in my life. It never overheats. It runs perfectly. It weighs a ton, but I don't care. It is a phenomenal piece of hardware. So he fixed what he set out to do. I will fix the hardware platform, and he did. Now we're just, what do we do with the hardware? And that's kind of where like the
Yeah.
vision stopped. And I think they need help.
Xbox can do only one thing. They can only focus on one thing. So they can either have great games and first party exclusives and all that stuff, or they can have a piece of hardware that works, but they don't put it out any good games for it. You only get one or the other, and now you're not going to get a console anymore after this. So you better hope that they go back to focusing on games, because if they don't,
They get nothing. Hey, but Phil, Game Pass.
yeah, there's like 6 games on there that anyone wants to play.
Well, speaking of Game Pass, a little bit of news there. They did announce that they are no longer calling it Xbox Game Pass. It is just now Game Pass. And this does really hint at the fact that the Xbox pay, you know, you pay I think it's $60 a year for gold. That's going to be ramping away. That seems to be very apparent. They haven't formally said it, but they pretty much, with Halo being free to play now, or rather Halo Infinite going to be free to play multiplayer. Um, we're seeing obviously a push in the Project X Cloud. They're ready to go live, at least on Android. So they're definitely in the process of rebranding and this stuff. My question for you is, if you got a chance to try out xCloud before?
No.
Um, I have, and I've done a lot of thoughts on it, and it's a very cool idea. Particularly the variant that doesn't tether to your own console. So if you're out in the road somewhere in a hotel room or something, you would be able to dial into the Xbox servers and play their games on your phone. And it works well. Is it perfect? No. Is there latency? Yes. You get that little bit of artifacting here and there. I guess with COVID now, maybe because everybody, a lot of us are stuck at home. I wonder if it even matters anymore. Like, I wonder if xCloud, they wanted to make xCloud a thing, and now it's here, and I don't know if people are excited about it. Does it do anything for you, or you just don't know enough about it to comment?
You're the only person I've ever heard talk about it.
Okay, so there you go. I don't know. I was thinking about that the other day because I was like, well, when I was on the road a lot for work, and I haven't been because I've been quarantining like most of us, it probably would have been cool, but I just started bringing my console with me. I mean, I was the guy that had the laptop bag, and I put my work laptop in my suitcase so I could put my Xbox in my laptop bag as my carry-on. And I took it everywhere I went. Every hotel room I have it. I have a backpack. I carry it with me, and I love it. I don't know. My cell phone, I have Sprint. Well, T-Mobile Sprint now. They suck. I'm not going to get 4G, whatever. I'm not going to get G, okay? I use Wi-Fi calling, and it still sucks. That's how bad my service is.
Go to Verizon.
Well, I like Sprint. They're my guy. This phone's paid for.
He kind of sucks, but he's my guy.
Coming from Mr. Xbox over there. But I'll tell you what. It is. I mean, I got the bill pay set up. It's a whole thing. But I'll tell you that I just don't know. I mean, if that's the real, mic drop moment that, hey, Game Pass is coming or Project xCloud is coming, it's like, I remember people saying they're really excited about it. It's like backward compatibility. This is great. I can play all my old games. And I'm like, well, yes, there's a small handful of people who do go back and play their old games, but not a lot. Most people play the new stuff, or they buy the remastered version because it looks better and it plays better and it's got all the DLC and all this other stuff. So that was just some notes on Microsoft that they are still making some moves, although I don't think they're on the magnitude of like Spider-Man coming to Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah, I think I've said all I can say on this subject.
Speaking about things that are unfair, brief news story on. I sent you the link on it. I'm more of a. This is really more for the PC side of things, and you could see right over here. I'm trying to do my hand. Everything's backwards. There we go. That is the original 16 Heroes and Heroes of the Storm. And that's by Blizzard Entertainment, one of my favorite companies, despite the fact they've gone through some pretty nasty crap in the last year or two. They released this silent protest, essentially, or this faceless protest, where everybody started posting their salaries in an effort to show how little they make compared to their other counterparts in other studios. And I don't have the actual numbers in front of me, but I was surprised that that company still just can't seem to get it together. You want to talk, if you want to be dejected as an Xbox fan, which clearly you are, go read on Blizzard and you'll be like, woo, we got made. Because I'll tell you what, man, everything Blizzard does is just shit on so hard these days. They can't even pay their people correctly.
Yeah, I was reading through some of that, and, there were project managers, making between $120,000 and $180,000 for different things and across different games. And then there was people, with internships making $17 an hour, and there were testers making $18 an hour. And I guess my opinion is probably going to be pretty unpopular here, but to put it in perspective for you, and this is not going to impress you in any way, shape, or form because you deal with government contracts in the hundreds of millions. But
yes.
I, as one person with no support staff, am in charge of a $40 million book of business. And I have to manage all the logistics, all the merchandising, all the marketing that has to deal with that business across half the state.
Okay.
And to manage $40 million in business is by myself is nothing short of a Herculean task. It takes all my time, Monday through Friday, and it bleeds into the weekend, every single weekend.
And that's why they hired you, because you're like 14 feet tall.
Yeah, and all jokes aside, it's very challenging, and I feel as though I'm paid commiserately, but I know what I'm paid, and I also know what my CEO makes. And my CEO has several more zeros than I do in his paycheck, but I understand that he's responsible for the success of the overall business, right. 4,000 employees, right. All sorts of different initiatives, and $2 billion of products circulating in and out of 15 different warehouses that house 90,000 SKUs each. So people that are mad that someone who has all of that riding on the line gets stock options and his compensation ends up being $40 million a year. I think that they should just be grateful to be employed, and they're talented, and that's fine. And maybe they could make a little bit more, but they signed up to make that. They signed up to do a job, understanding that there are always little intangible things that you don't see in the job interview. You know nothing's not going to be perfect anywhere you go, but you signed on to do a job with all the little extras you know are going to come with it for that amount of money. I don't see the point in taking a job and then bitching about the pay afterwards. Oh, because someone else made more money than me. Well, maybe they knew more than you. Maybe they have more qualifications than you. Maybe they're more creative than you. Maybe they have the intangible X factor and they mean more to their respective company than you do to yours.
More impact positions or impact players, at least. Yeah.
Yeah, I know for a fact, and this is not a brag, this is not a humble brag, this is nothing other than a statement of fact. There are other people that do the exact same job as me in different states that I know are paid less than me because I have senior level management experience and I negotiated my rate of pay and I negotiated my entire compensation package. I spent 4 weeks going back and forth with these people to make sure that I got what I wanted and I felt I deserved because I knew I'd have to live with it for several years. Because I wasn't going to be eligible for a promotion right away, and I wasn't going to be able to move laterally and get a pay increase until I really learned this new space. I come from a wholesale background, and now I'm more in retail. So I spent time negotiating, and you know what? If there's someone that does the exact same job as me that pays more, guess what? He's not doing the same job as me. I'm managing my people and my $40 million, and he or she may have a whole different set of challenges, and that's why she's worth $10,000 more a year than I am. Sure. I'm content. I'm taking care of my family. I don't know. I'm sorry. I stole the whole segment away from you. I apologize.
No, I mean they're all valid points, and I agree with you. I think that's the thing, and all the leadership classes that I've taken as part of my professional development. One of the things they constantly talk about is people being like an A player or a B player or a C player and understanding where people fall in. And the truth is not everybody's an A player. I think I'm not an A player a lot of times. They made me a lead. I sometimes question that, but here we are. I'm doing it. But I'll tell you that I think a lot of it really has to do with the fact that there's so much tech out in the West Coast and that the cost of living out in California is impossible to manage. People pulling in 200,000-300,000 a year living in poverty. Rachel and I go out to BlizzCon and E3. We went out last year, and we stay at the same hotel every time in Whittier, California. We love it out there, and it's right outside Los Angeles, kind of near Anaheim, and kind of that like triangle. We love it out there. And I always pull up Zillow on my phone because I'm like, Rachel, we could live here. We could live here. We could eat at this pancake house every day. This could be our house. And I look at the houses, and it's like a 2-bedroom house is like 1.5 mil. I can't afford that. So, I guess what I'm saying is making that kind of money here in Orlando, you'd be king of the world, man. You don't have to stay. So I think there's a part of it too that people have to realize, if you want to get into that world, you're going to have to live in that world. And if it is a thankless job, don't do it. It's hard to say. I mean, it's easy to say, hey, I got a great job I'm taken care of. But, I jumped around careers a lot when I was young, very young. And it took me a while before I got settled where I was at. And I'm happy where I am and I'm not leaving now. But it took me 4 or 5 jobs to kind of figure out what made it right. But never did I ever think that like I deserved more or whatever. I just find it interesting that it's somehow morphed into an attack on Blizzard. And it's like, oh, Blizzard sucks. They make crappy games and they don't pay their staff. And it's like, well, is that really their fault on the payment part? So it's just kind of interesting, just food for thought. But I mean, there's no right answer. And I hate to hear people are having a hard time making ends meet. But, I mean, there are opportunities out there. You just got to go find them, I guess.
As far as cost of living or whatever regulations, the impact of where you live, you choose to live where you choose to live, and you choose to live where you do your job, and that's a choice you make as an adult. I live in New York State, and I make a job where I am very fortunate to be in a job where my base pay is more than fair, but a large portion of what I'm paid is based upon performance bonuses.
That's the big thing.
And in New York State, performance bonuses are looked at as any sort of corporate bonus.
Right.
So because of the disgust from CEOs getting tens of millions of dollars in their bonuses, the state of New York decided to say, hey, we're going to put a 50% tax rate on all bonuses, which covers everything, broad spectrum, including me, who doesn't make tens of millions of dollars a year. I make less than that. And I recently just got, I did very well last quarter, and I got a very nice check, and I had 5 figures stolen from me.
Jesus, yeah.
So more than 50% of my
is gone.
bonus check was taken away in taxes. And you know what? I still live here in New York, and if I don't like it, I'll have to get a different job and move out of the state.
Come on down to Sunshine State, baby. That's where it's at.
Yeah, I accept where I'm at right now and what's going to happen, and I work harder so that the little bit that I'm left with is more.
So, switching, I agree with you 100%. I just thought it was an interesting topic just for something to talk about. But I mean, I guess the point is everybody, the great thing about this great country is, there are a lot of opportunities out there. Sometimes you got to go find them. And if it's not the best thing, you got to pay your respects or earn your dues or whatever you want to call it. For a while, I went through it. I was a 31-year-old intern. And I was like, I'm not an intern. I've been working professionally for 10 years. Nope, you're an intern. So I deal with it. I figure this whole show has been doom and gloom. Phil's almost crying. He's sad. We're gonna cheer him up. We're in the home stretch now. This is the finale, the grand finale. And I want to talk to you about what are you playing?
Nothing.
Thanks for watching, everybody. Good night. No.
It's funny because the last couple times we've talked about this, you're playing a game that doesn't involve me, and I'm playing a game that doesn't involve you, and then we play games together at night for an hour or so or whatever. As of, I think, either Sunday night or Monday night, I finished playing Far Cry. I finished replaying Far Cry 4, and I haven't picked up anything else. I've just been pretty much either working or watching Sons of Anarchy, or when I am playing, I'm playing Halo with you. Halo or Forza.
Halo. Now I'm going to try. That's the key word. Thanks. Thank you, sir. I'm going to press this button now. And now, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, Phil's still there. I'm still here. I'm going to play you some actual gameplay footage. Phil can't see it. That's okay. He'll see it later. It's
over here. It's down here, or it's up here, it's over there. I don't know where.
It is to your left. Wait, what point's to your left? Your other left. You're right. Yeah, that way. That's the way it is. I tried. With these cameras, they switch things around. So what we are looking at here is Halo 1. The scene is us playing co-op, which I want to talk briefly about. But specifically, just so you can get it in your mindset, it is when we are getting ready to board the Covenant Corvette with that big energy column, and the 2 hunters come down, and we have to kill the hunters and then go up the column. It's kind of early on in the game. And you remember that, hopefully?
Is this where the blood was all over the ground?
Yes, it was. Bloodbath. So what I really liked about this whole experience in Halo, and I have some other clips depending on how long we talk about it. I have a few queued up. What I really loved about Halo was I've played this game so many times on my own that I semi-speed run it, not professionally or competitively. I know all the exploits, I know where the skulls are at, I know where all the power weapons are, I know all the loading screens. I'm very, very knowledgeable on the lore and the universe. What was so fun to me was playing with you because it really does change the entire game. Cutscenes seem different, the voices seem different, the combat, which is the real thing that matters, very different. I mean, on this particular scene, this hunter would be chasing me around the map right now, and I'd be running in circles. You're sitting on that plasma turret just lighting this thing up, and I'm standing way in the back shooting at it, and he turns to face me, and we absolutely annihilated this guy, which I thought was really, really cool. Jumping over to you making fun of my driving, Halo 3. Now we're looking at some gameplay footage of the finale, the infamous Warthog run, where you drove us to victory as we are escaping the planet here. It's exploding and all the panels are falling out of the ground, and it took a while. We died a couple times, but we won.
Jim's here.
Yeah, so you love to make fun of me because I'm not a very good driver. I'll admit the controls in Halo definitely are not up to my particular like skill set. Neither is Forza, in fairness, neither is Forza. And I'm noticing a common thread here. But I will say that it was fun to play Halo with you because typically the Warthog run for me has always been me driving it. 100% of the time because it's me and an AI arbiter. It was really cool for me to be able to man the 50 cal, and I got a much different appreciation for the level because I was in the essential passenger seat.
I've only ever experienced it like you experienced it, and it was much less frustrating with someone intelligent operating that cannon.
Ooh, oh, me. But you know what's funny is the times we died, and we're about to see one right here where we flip over and we fall through the ground. It's a frustrating moment where it's like, oh, like I want to beat this game. We're right at the end, the music's flaring up, everything's getting exciting, we die. But I don't know, it was just fun doing it again and again and again, and we struggled in a couple areas, and we finally, figured out how to get through these certain areas. But it was still really fun, and I never felt that stress, I think, that I did when I played by myself. And I think Halo is like a perfect co-op game for people who don't know how to play. I mean, we played with your buddy the other night who on Halo 5, I don't have any footage of that, but not very good. But we still had an absolute blast just because it was another person we could laugh at, we could joke with, and I mean, he did kill a few enemies, not a lot, but he did his part, and it was great.
He killed me more than he killed any enemies.
Well, so that's where all this gets thrown right out the window. Is in Halo when you accidentally kill somebody, because then it's like you get pissed. You get mad because you're like, oh, I lost my sniper rifle, or oh, I lost my energy hammer, or whatever. And then it's like, well, I'm gonna get you back. And then it's like a full-on war for like a minute, where it's like we ignore the Covenant have now won the war. We are now solely fighting each other. Plasma grenades are flying, pistol shots are flying, and then we agree to cease fire until it's not. Until I get a power weapon, and then it's like, hey, remember 20 minutes ago? Yeah, hold this.
I get so mad.
Yes,
When someone griefs me. But it's because 9 out of 10 times, and here goes a brag that I can back up.
There we go.
9 times out of 10, if we're gonna grief each other, I'm gonna come out the victor.
Oh.
I just usually say, "Oh, dude, I sniped you from across the map with a Magnum the other day. Shut up." And you know what the scene you recorded is when I logged out and my character was still there and you killed it.
Hey, that's all we're gonna show. I don't have that clip, unfortunately, but yes.
And also, you know how I justify it in non-pivotal moments, in stupid moments, like when we're riding up an elevator, I'll grief you. But then, or like, I'll grief Blake. But then, like, we're in the middle of a firefight and we're pinned down by snipers, and Blake's like, you know what? Fuck you. And he comes up and shoots me in the back of the head. I'm like, are you serious? And we had to redo the whole thing, and he's laughing, and I'm like, okay, asshole. And I got really
That's how it starts. It's
just how I am.
It is funny. And I don't know, I guess because it's so easy to jump in, and Microsoft, talking about how much we bash them, they really did fix Master Chief Collection, because I played this game at launch and it was atrocious. I was very, very, very critical of it, as many people rightfully were. They did a phenomenal job of making this game fun. The loading times are great. It looks really pretty. It works very well. So in those moments when we do get a little more aggressive with each other on the PvP front, we flip a switch and we're right back in the action, and it's like it never happened.
Yeah. It is kind of funny, though, how, like, there'll still be Covenant around, and we're not even worried about them. We're just dodging their bullets so we can kill each other.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's the funniest part for me.
So we played through so far. We've kind of gone out of order. I wanted to play Master Chief. I'm sorry, not Master Chief. I wanted to play Halo 3 first because Master Chief Collection has added trophies, like in-game achievements, and I wanted to get a really cool skin for that, which I still rock, by the way. I played some multiplayer today, and I'm like, yeah, my boy Phil hooked me up because I wear it. I wear the emblem proudly on my chest. I'm at the bottom of the leaderboard, but hell yeah, I'm repping. So we played Halo 3. Then we decided, well, you had no idea what the hell was going on. And despite me being the lore master of all things Halo, it's like, let's just play through them in chronological order. So we jump back to Reach. So the game footage I'm showing now is the end of Reach, where you're manning the Mac cannon and I am down on the ground with a Spartan laser. And it's the end of the game where just ships and ships are flooding in. And then ultimately it cuts to that final scene where you have to fight until you die. And I'm not saying it's spoilers. The game's 50 years old. If you didn't play it, too bad. So we played through Reach. We really enjoyed that. We're chipping away through 1, and then we jumped to 5 so that Blake could play with us. So it's because that's a 3-player co-op. So we're kind of jumping around a little bit, but they're all fun in their own way. And I guess I would just go back to anyone who's watching this, the show, and just say, you know what, like, you really owe it to yourself to play this with a friend. You really do. Even if you've played it like me and you know all the lore and all the Easter eggs, and even if you've played it with a friend before, play it again because it works so well and it's just so hysterically funny when you like accidentally kill your friend. You run them over. And we haven't even done multiplayer yet, which I don't know how that's going to go because that's obviously more competitive. This doesn't matter. You die, you go back 15 feet and do it again. It's just a lot of fun, and I feel like this is just a great time. And I like, if you want to talk earlier of you being upset about like the spirit of Microsoft, like this is the game. This is the game that like, this is what's going to sell you on Xbox, this experience, in my opinion.
Agreed.
And I liked it, so I'm going to fast forward a little bit. So I'm just showing a little bit of footage at the very end of the game, and I've just been streaming everything. It works really well on the Xbox One. That thing's got plenty of horsepower to stream without any issue. You open up the Twitch app, you're able to record everything. I don't put any audio on it, so no one hears what we're saying. It's just the game file, and it's got the game audio. But it's probably a good thing they don't hear what we're saying because it's sometimes inappropriate, but it's fun. I mean, it's just guys being guys, yeah. I guess. So that's what I've been up to, mostly playing with you. The other one I want to briefly mention, and then I think I've said it all, is I want to talk about my love for Fall Guys. Now, did you get a chance to watch the polo I sent you earlier today?
Yeah, I responded.
Okay, I didn't get a chance to see your response. I'm sorry. It was me cackling like a hyena for probably a minute. It probably didn't even make any sense. I don't know if I even said any intelligible words.
Nope.
Phil, listen, I'm not saying it's a system seller because it's not, but it is. The idea of all these little people running with open mics screaming at each other, and they're like these little like pill-looking people, and they run with their arms like, and people not dying, but like falling off a cliff, getting hit in the face with like a big pad and going off the map. It's just so funny. And the way it's just got such cute charm to it, it does remind me, it's just a simple game to play with all the crap going on in the world. It's just a game that like, even when you lose, you win. You know what I mean? Like you always win.
Yeah.
Even when you get
like
eliminated.
Dumb Ways to Die.
Yeah. So
remember Dumb Ways to Die?
The whole objective is to be the first. Ultimately, they're going to whittle down. 60 players enter. Eventually, one will win. But it's over the course of like 5 or 6 maps. So when you're all running, the first thing is like 60 people enter a map. We all have to run to the goal. And like the top 50 make it. And then the next map is like, okay. Dude, it's funny. And then it's like a matching game, or there's these like little team-based games, like be the first team to push your ball off the hill before the other team. And they're just such goofy little characters, and there's like little skins. You could dress your guy up like a hamburger or like a hot dog or like stupid. But the best part is, and that's what I'm showing right now, it's got this giant board, okay? And it says 50 people remain, okay? And all the little characters are like in their own little cubes, like dancing. And then it's like, uh-oh, 30 of you didn't make it. It's like, womp, womp. And then like they get pushed off into the cliff and they die. And all the other ones are like looking around like, And then you realize you're alive, and you're like, and then you go to the next level. The fact that this is on PlayStation Plus is awesome. And I think it's a great sales pitch for you to get into PlayStation Plus. I know you're not going to, but I felt like it was a good way to end today's show just by laughing and reminiscing on funny games. And Fall Guys definitely is one of those games, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think my favorite part of the polos was the end of the second polo where you were cackling so hard you couldn't breathe, and you're like, it's just so good. You can talk so much shit, and it's just a bunch of little kids. And I literally responded back to you that you're depraved because
Oh
you're
my
taking
God,
too
yes.
much joy from talking shit to children.
I laugh so hard at the stuff I say because these little kids, and they'll like write you, because I think I've said this before, and it's not bragging. It's very common for people who are. I mean, I'm Viper Magic. That's how people know me. But I get so many friend requests and so many like messages randomly when I'm playing. So you could see them pop up like, "Hey, love your channel. We should play together sometime." And then the next one's like, "Fuck you." I'm like, okay, clearly this was the guy that I just played with. I don't think people are watching this show and then they're getting on their computer writing nasty stuff. I think it's all these other people that, I'm screwing in these games. Like, because you can grab people and like yank them back. So like you're running to the finish line, you could grab a guy and like throw him off the cliff, and then it's stupid.
I did that to you in Halo the other day. You were going to get on the Pelican before me, and I killed you.
You did, yeah. The amount of plasma grenades, rocket launchers, backwhacks, spanker rockets that I have received on behalf of the UNSC, it's jaw-dropping the amount of punishment I take to serve my country. Because it's these funny moments when like you're in a tank and I like throw a grenade, or like you're getting in a warthog and we blow it up or whatever. It's just stupid fun. So I think they're all good. And I guess if there's any message we could take away from today, and then I'll turn it over to you. But for me, it's that these games, despite all this console war stuff, there is fun to be had on Xbox, on PlayStation, whatever. And I think if you're playing with your little group of friends that aren't assholes, I think you're going to have a good time. That's my takeaway, at least.
Agree. Except you play with an asshole.
Except we're all assholes. That's the problem. And I think it's funny to murder you. And when you kill me and I like get mad, it's funny. And we're playing Forza. Yeah, I spin you out and then I blame you on it because that's what we do. That's what we do.
You get so mad when I kill you. You're like, okay, I guess, and then it's quiet for a minute, and I'm like, it's quiet because I mute my mic because I'm laughing so hard. As soon as I say, okay, I guess, as soon as you say that, I fucking lose it, dude. I lose it because it takes so much to get you mad. You're so even, and like the dumbest things make you mad, just like me. When I can get you there, I really cherish it.
It is funny because, like in Halo in particular, it's like you kill somebody and it's like, oh, I guess we're doing this now. And it's like, yeah, we just did. And it's so frustrating. And yeah, I mean, Blake, really nice guy. And he doesn't know what's going on. I know he's really trying, and a lot of times it's friendly fire, but it is hysterical to watch because I'll just back up and I watch. And he's got like an incinerator cannon and he aims it right at the back of your head. Right at the back of your head. And you just see him just, you're gone. You're just ash. And you're like, and he's like, I'm really trying. And I really genuinely believe he is, but he has no situational awareness.
No, he is. He is. He's trying. He's trying to do something. And half the time it is legitimately to kill me. Half the time he doesn't know what's going on. He's adorable.
That is
I
fun.
love
That
him
is
so
fun.
much.
He's a
In
good
fact,
guy.
he called me earlier and he wants to play again tonight.
I'll be
so
around,
we'll
man.
have to
Well, let's keep working our way through. We just took out we just met up with General Sloan, or Governor Sloan rather, and we're leaving Meridian now. We saw the big fight between Locke and the Master Chief. So yeah, I'll be around. All right, young man, is there anything else? I feel like I've said it all. Is there anything else you want to say to our loyal fan base of thousands?
Nope.
You gonna sign us off, or have you thought about a great,
Oh, well, usually you set me up, but if I'm setting myself
I'm sorry. Phil, I want to go eat dinner. Is there anything else you want to say to the people watching at home?
Bob Dylan once said the times, they are a-changing, but we know he's a fucking liar because war War never changes.
Beautiful.